if we say that the usual in Western spirituality is for the spiritual ego of the individual to the increase in consciousness, yes, simultaneous to spiritual ego amplification and complexification, yes. So that the spiritual ego becomes some imagined ego identity. I am now higher and better and more evolved and more conscious than other people. They just haven't caught up yet. And so the I should remain above and better and imagine itself to be non-equal to all others all the time. And then it gets a following and a base, and it makes money, and it gets monetized, and it gets social acceptance and support and a lot of access to a lot of energy, and that's a feeding process. Who wants to give that up in order to collaborate? Who wants to give that up for mere equality? Do you see the conundrum that the spiritual egoic process runs into if it imagines itself to be higher, better, and more conscious, and others to be less conscious and thus less than it, and it doesn't want to get its hands dirty with all that unconsciousness? You know, it's great to be the superior consciousness as long as you're not required to get down in the nitty gritty and the muck of the world and actually do hard work and shovel whatever must be shoveled in order to transform the world in whatever ways are necessary for it to be transformed so that it can remain a sustainable, viable life process for all of the incarnate souls here. All of that said, absolutely the experience of these folks as they would traverse their arc of evolution is going to have been, I've met up with so many egoified people who were either feeders or controllers or fearful or hateful or mean or untrustworthy or undependable. And I haven't figured out a way myself as my spiritual egoified sense of self, and any sense of self is just a simulacra. It's just an ego identity. So my simulacrified ego identified self can't understand how it could happen because I project all of that negativity of the past and all of my interpretations of the dysfunction of the egoity or the tribalism or the fear or the feeding dynamics or competitive dynamics of the world onto every person I meet. Therefore, I project it onto the WSS. Therefore, I'm afraid of my own projection, not of the WSS. I'm afraid of my projection onto the WSS. And I'm also afraid if that's actually happening and these folks have arrived at a capacity to remain sovereign, to honor their own free will, to have their free will respected constantly by all participants, loved, lauded, supported, validated, cared for and nurtured and nourished. And so they remain sovereign, and they simultaneously are so conscious they have the capacity to participate in a gestalt conscious collaboration so that they can opt out any moment they want. They're not being forced to be anyway. They're not being required to be anyway. They're not being expected to operate in any way. They contribute, they participate, they collaborate in the way they choose. To an ego, to a fixed recorded, an ego is just a recording. It's a set of recordings, an amalgam of recorded simulacra. To that ego process, that described dynamic of gestalt conscious collaboration we've just described is, because it can't relate, because it's still clinging to its fear, it's clinging to its beliefs, it's clinging to its history, it's clinging to its imagined map of the world, or the map that has been embodied of the supposed surrounding territory that is believed to be more real than what truly is occurring in this world. And what truly is occurring in this world is not a mappable thing. It's not a recordable thing in anybody's embodied egoic self-image or social image dynamic. So how can you allow all that is to flow through you constantly and be okay with it and comfortable with it if it runs into the impediments of no, it's got to be done my way, or I've got to have control of it, or I've got to be able to prove I'm better in this way. I can't participate unless I compete. I've got to be able to show that my status is higher than their status. I've got to be able to compare myself to know I'm safe to everybody that I'm participating with. We're doing our best to suss all that out in this process and dismantle it all, because it's all an impediment to the potential collaboration that we all have the capacity to generate together collaboratively. And every other model in the world, I won't say everyone, most other models, organizationally, spiritually, religiously, they don't tend to operate that way. And we get that. They're good. There's nothing wrong with them. We love them. They're fantastic. They're serving, they're benefiting the world. And there's an opportunity here for them all to come together and to share with each other and to feed each other, to contribute to each other's process, to inform each other, educate each other, nurture each other, serve each other egolessly. And that's a process of unconditional love and absolute respect and honoring of all souls. And that's not something that's generally taught in our world. It's not something that's generally modeled, lived from, practiced. Most people don't have a practice environment, like the Team of Teams is our practice environment to live that way.